Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell promising a vote on health care as early as next Thursday. The problem is nobody really seems to know what's in the bill, even in his own party. We get that they're eager to get something done before the July 4th recess, but is this the way to do it? To make the case, Republican Senator Ron Johnson, the chairman of the Homeland Security, and he is part of the working group trying to hammer out the health care bill. So you're on the two important committees here, really, if you look at it. Senator, always good to have you on New Day. Thank you for being here. What do you make of this process? Is it fair criticism to say it has been very secretive?
Well, first of all, the decision was made to do this through reconciliation. I don't necessarily agree with that, but that was a decision made. So you've got a bill that had to be crafted by Republicans. From that standpoint, it's been a very open process within the Republican conference. Somebody's got to write a bill. Now leadership will write a bill. You know, what I've told leadership very clearly is I'm going to need time, and my constituents are going to need time to evaluate exactly how this is going to affect them. So I personally think that holding a vote on this next week would definitely be rushed. I can't imagine, quite honestly, that I'd have the information to evaluate and justify a yes vote within just a week.
Well, what do you make of that, though? I mean, obviously you have Senator McCain, being snarky about it, but saying that he's not going to vote on a bill that he hasn't seen. You're hearing that from Paul. You're hearing that from Cruz. Mike Lee went even further, and he's in that working group. He's one of the guys tasked with drafting it, and he says, I don't know what's in it. I share your frustration.
I'm in this working group as well, and the purpose of the working group isn't to actually write the bill. It's to, really discuss all the issues, and it's very complex. I think within 2 meetings, I saw the wide spectrum of opinion within the Republican conference trying to fix this mess that is Obamacare. And so my suggestion was, let's break this into 2 parts. Let's pass something to stabilize the insurance markets that are literally collapsing under Obamacare. That was my counsel 2 months ago. Unfortunately, we didn't do that yet, but that's the minimum thing we have to do. That's the minimum legislation we have to pass, is something to stabilize the markets that are collapsing because of Obamacare.
Is part of your idea to have the federal government put through the subsidies that the president is threatening, which is having an effect on the destabilization?
Well, I think that's what we're going to have to do. I mean, I don't like the fact that these markets are collapsing, that premiums have doubled under Obamacare, and if we don't do something, they'll skyrocket again. But that's the reality we're facing. So, being a guy, coming from the business world, I'm kind of big into reality. So that's the reality we have to deal with. I think it's our responsibility to stabilize those markets, passing something that we really don't like. But I think we should do that first and foremost.
The speculation is that the secrecy is in part practicality, how to get it done quickest, but also pragmatism, that McConnell and maybe others don't want people to know what's in here because you've got that huge price tag of lives, 23 million people who may lose care, and that caps may be reintroduced into how much care you can get, and that pre-existing conditions may well be compromised, and you know that that's not going to go over well with big groups of your constituents, so you're doing it in private.
Well, first of all, the House passed their bill. That's been out in the public domain. The Senate is using that as a framework. Again, within the Republican conference, it's been a very open process. And now we're going to draft a bill, and that'll be made public. And what I want to do is I want to fully vet it in the public. I want to make sure that my constituents have enough time to provide input. So again, I'm not going to criticize the process unless we start taking a vote way too early before I have time to get the information.
But that's what your leader is telling you he wants to do.
Well, that'll be a decision he'll make, but I've told him unless I have the input from my constituents, unless I have got the information I need to justify a yes vote, I won't be voting yes.
So you think that there's a good chance that McConnell will put this up for a vote if he's got guys who are good soldiers but pragmatic like you saying, I'm not going to vote for it if I can't sell it?
I'm not going to speak for the leader whatsoever. But what I will say is, again, these markets are collapsing. We do have to pass something to stabilize them. And from my standpoint, the whole goal of our effort ought to be to fix our health care system. Now, that's a really tall order because Obamacare has really messed it up.
You think that it's worse now than it was before Obamacare?
Absolutely, it's worse.
Even though the rates of increase of premiums is less than before Obamacare?
No, premiums have doubled under Obamacare.
But the rate of increase during this period of the ACA is less than it was before it, and you have so many millions more covered, and in ways that they weren't covered.
Chris, on the individual market, and that's primarily what Obamacare is, On the individual market, premiums have doubled. I don't think that has ever happened in our healthcare history where premiums on the individual market have doubled, in some places tripled.
Right,
that's because Obamacare is incredibly flawed. Because
but you're being a little self-selective with the data, aren't you? I mean, overall, the costs are rising at a lower rate, and some of those markets have cratered, but there are complex reasons for that. Some of those states haven't taken advantage of the law. They didn't want to. They set themselves up for failure. And in other ones, you have some endemic problems you need to address.
Obamacare is primarily addressing the individual market. Nowhere near the number of uninsured became insured, about 20 million people. Of that, about 10 million are in the individual market. More than half of those already had insurance. The other, close to, I think, 16 million on Medicaid, half of those already qualified for Medicaid. So Obamacare was all about the individual market. It has really messed up the individual market. That's what we have to fix. And by the way, for a long time, I've been saying what our efforts ought to be directed toward is repairing the damage done by Obamacare and then working toward transition to a healthcare system that actually works, that constrains costs, that improves quality, that helps improve access. You do that through consumer-driven, free market competition. That's what actually works. And if I really target a metric, it'd be how much of every healthcare dollar is actually paid for by the patient. In the 40s, it was 68 cents. In the 60s, it was 48 cents. Now it's 10. So we've driven out free market competition to discipline the marketplace to restrain the growth in healthcare costs. That's what we need to do long term, but that's a much longer discussion that we're going to be undertaking here in the next couple of weeks.
Well, people need to look up two things for themselves. One, what was the rate increase before the ACA? What is it now?
Look at the individual market, Chris.
We'll see
individual market. That's what.
But all the different markets matter
up.
because that's how you look at overall cost. But also, we're going to have to see what's in the bill. That remains a mystery. Senator, thank you for making the case as always.
Have a good day.